What's up everybody, welcome back to another video from me, the Vontainer. In this video, I'm not going to be speaking about the tactics, the what ifs. We're going to be talking about the big picture, what Newcastle should and could do in the Champions League this season. Newcastle have lost our first game in this Champions League campaign. A 2-1 defeat to Barcelona at home at St James's Park. The big news and the big call was who's going to start up front. Was it going to be Anthony Gordon or Nick Weltemade? Eddie Howe chose to go with Anthony Gordon. Was it the right decision? Obviously not. If we had started Weltemade, would we have won the game? Who knows? I think there's a lot of captain hindsights there. You'll read a lot of news articles saying if we had played Weltemade, we would have won the game. That is completely nonsense. Nobody knows. We might have lost 4-0 if Weltemade started. It's obviously clear that Eddie Howe sent a message to the team in terms of high intensity, a high press, high energy. But if there's one team in the world that can play the ball around a high press, that is going to be Barcelona. The game started well, the atmosphere was amazing. Every single one of the pundits, even Hansi Flick and Joe Cole in the stadium before the game, and Ali McCoist on commentary, everybody was saying that the stadium and the atmosphere was unbelievable. We knew that was going to be the case. We knew that the Geordies were going to come to town. They were going to welcome Barcelona to St James's Park with amazing war flags and tifos. We knew this was going to be the case. And you cannot blame any of the Newcastle fans for not playing their part in trying to support the team and get them over the line. But there is a couple of things I want to take issue with, and I will get onto that later in the video. But first, let's talk a little bit about team selection. If you look through the team, I wouldn't say any player in particular had a bad game, but I would say that playing Anthony Gordon as a central striker has previously not worked. It didn't work last night, and I don't think it's going to work in future. He's got to play on the left. In worst case scenario, he's got to play on the right. Finished. Full stop. What does that mean for our plan B in case Weltemade gets injured? Well, you let me know in the comments. Newcastle's best chance of the game came from Harvey Barnes. Guimaraes letting Elanga go through on the right hand side, absolutely stripping the left back, putting the ball across, and Harvey Barnes did well to get into the position, but put his shot straight into the hands of the Barcelona keeper. Would Anthony Gordon have scored the goal? Would he have been in that position? Who knows? It's absolutely spilled milk, no point crying about it. Let's talk a little bit about Marcus Rashford. I thought Trippier did well in the first half hour in terms of keeping him quiet. But with all due respect, the guy's 35 years old. He's played 2 games in a week. Where is Lewis Hall? He must be injured or something. Tino Livramento is our best right back. To not be playing Lewis Hall, there must be some niggle or something that the guy's got. In the central of defence, how much longer are we going to keep Malik Chow and Sven Botman on the sidelines? Dan Burn, Fabian Schär are getting on in age. There's no point saying these guys are rubbish every time we lose and then saying they're brilliant every time they win. So to quickly summarize the game, please do not play Anthony Gordon up front as central striker ever again, please. So I said I was going to talk a little bit about this, and that is the element of nostalgia. Leading up to the game, a lot of the build-up was regarding Newcastle versus Barcelona 1997, Faustino Spear hat-trick. If you're old enough to remember the game, it was an absolute classic. I personally had posters on my wall of that game growing up. The club also released a video of Faustino Spear. It was absolutely brilliant, and it really whet the appetite before the game and stirred up those memories of that magic night. But there is something about the mentality of Newcastle in general. Now, I'm not trying to have a go or anything, but there seems to be this rhetoric where we keep on living in the past and remembering the great experiences. The 5-1 Philippe Albert chip against Man United, the PSG victory in the Champions League, the Liverpool Carabao Cup win. Now, these are just some examples of absolutely high moments and fantastic memories where the team have performed amazingly well. And it's important to make those memories and cherish those memories. But to be an elite club, you cannot be constantly looking back at what we've done and achieved in the past. We have to be looking forward in terms of what are we going to do this season? How are we going to qualify for the next stage of the Champions League? How are we going to beat Bournemouth on Sunday? How are we going to beat Bradford in the EFL Cup next week? If you look at all the successful teams in recent history and going back even further than that, all of them celebrate the success. And yes, that's very, very important. But you have to move on and draw a line under it and move forward and look forward. For me, there was too much nostalgia about the 1997 game. 100%. There was too much focus on the past and memories. We need to be focused on making new memories and more memories. And the only way of doing that is by looking forward at the next game on the fixture list. Whether that's Bournemouth away or Bradford in the League Cup or Arsenal next week, forget about that. The most important game is the next game. Of course, it's amazing to reminisce and talk about amazing victories. But if you listen to anyone who's an elite, successful athlete, they will always talk about celebrating successes and then immediately already start planning for the next one. Now, I'm not trying to be Captain Hindsight and say we should have done this or could have done that. Of course, Eddie Howe will speak to the players in terms of what they got wrong and what they got right. Hindsight is 2020, but I do think Eddie Howe struggles to learn from his mistakes. How much longer are we going to keep on trying to play Anthony Gordon? Now, you might say, well, Fontaine, what's the alternative? The alternative is play your striker, and if he can't play your second best striker, which is clearly not Anthony Gordon, it's Willis Sula. We do have to take the result with a slight pinch of salt. I mean, Pedri was unbelievable. He was a magician. He just pulled the strings and he ran that midfield. And from a Newcastle fan's perspective, you have to give credit to players like that. Unbelievable how he just controlled that game. Full credit also has to go to Marcus Rashford. I think people are very happy to kick the guy once he's down, and there's not that much credit going to him. I mean, he scored 2 unbelievable goals last night. His second goal in particular was an absolute stunner. What are your views? Do you think Voltemade should have started and we should have pulled him off after 60 minutes? Does Eddie Howe need to think of a new plan? Perhaps playing someone as a false 9 like Lewis Miley? If Willis Sula is not good enough to start, why is he at the club? Let me know your comments below. Do give us a like and a subscribe and click the bell on the notification so that you know whenever I release a new video. Until then, don't forget,